start by thanking you, Crowder, for taking the time to chat with us here at the Christian Beat, all about your upcoming project, The Exile. So first off, congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. I'll take that. I'm so happy it's about to be out. We're getting close. I love it.
Yeah, you are. I do want to start though, talking about the lead single, Grave Rapper. And
Mhm.
I know that you had some success with that one earlier this month. It was also announced that that was your fifth number one and different things. So I'm just curious why you think that single and that track has connected so well with the listeners.
Well, I think it's like one of the unique things about following Jesus is that it's not about making bad people good, but it's about making dead people alive. And so that I think resonates with anybody that's, person of faith, and for people that, are struggling and don't see a way out, that to know that there's redemption, and that the guy that we're talking about, if he conquers death, he can conquer whatever's in front of you. And I think that's a simple message that, I need to hear that more often than I do, or than it's in my heart and mind. So I think that's why it really connected and resonated as well. The track's pretty aggressive. I was really surprised. I kind of stay out of the whole radio thing because I'm not, a professional radio programmer. So I'm always curious which songs will connect with our radio team at Capitol, and then what will connect with the programmers, and because they know their listeners and stuff. And so when they went with the Grave Robber deal, I was like, okay, that's that's pretty aggressive. So I guess rock and roll is back. You know what I'm saying? That made me happy as well. So I was thrilled. It's a track that really sonically helps define the Exile album, because it is a little aggressive as a whole. There's a bit of angst in it, I think, fitting for a theme with a title like The Exile. So I was pleased that it came out the door first, and happy people got to hear it and love that they connected with it.
Oh, absolutely. And I did want to take a step back and talk about the whole concept behind the exile. I know that you're saying it's the second in a trilogy, but it's also standing alone as itself too, as its own set of tracks and music. So I'm curious how you feel the theme of it stands out as its own project, but also then weaves in with the trilogy concept.
That's cool. Well, I kind of always worked in threes. Well, not kind of. I've always worked in threes. I just need, like, the way, I guess my process, if you're going to use a nerdy word, my process is I need boundaries. I need to know what I'm writing into. And so I usually kind of create a little outline of sorts that helps me kind of write towards a theme. And so in this little arc of three albums, I started with Promise, which turned into what we called Milk and Honey.
Hmm.
And then this next one's The Exile, and the following one's The Return. So I had Promise, Exile, Return, sort of the narrative arc of the Israelites, but as well us, as people. Our the exile started pretty early. I mean, we're in the garden in perfect communion with our Maker, and then things go awry. As soon as we, take things in our own hands, that's when things go awry, and we're displaced. And so that's where we are as humanity, in this place where we're just trying to get back into perfect communion with the one who made us. And that journey back is what these projects are sort of about. The Exile, I think the songs that came around it are really, they were all out of stories. We're coming out of our COVID season that, thank goodness, we're on the other side of, for the most part, but coming out of being isolated and away from one another. When I was starting to make this album, it was a lot of catching up. Everybody was telling stories and, like, hey, how's life been since I hadn't been in your space in a good while? And these songs came out of those stories, and so it's really pretty fun. I had the idea of this album arc, or these album arcs, and then that what we were doing was exactly what the album was calling for. It was about, like, being displaced, and being feeling like you're on your own, and all these. So all the songs came out of stories. And then the other thing that's really unique that I saw happening is they there's only maybe one on the album that's really corporate feeling, where all my music in the past has really had this corporate element, that we're singing to God rather than about, like, what's going on in life. And all of these songs are really more about what life's like on this other side of Eden, so to speak, where you feel things are, that things are broken. It doesn't take much to look around and figure out really quickly that things are not like the intentions of God had had been had. So So for me, I was really interested in the fact that the songs were less vertical. And then at the same time, as that was happening, all of a sudden these other songs were coming that I was like, man, this is a really great song. And so we couldn't quit writing it, but I was like, this does not fit the Exile at all. And it took me way too long to figure out, oh my goodness, the Return is coming at the same time as the Exile. And so I had basically at the end of this process, had two albums in my hand. Like, okay, we've got the Exile and we've got the Return. So really super excited about this moment, knowing what's coming, and all of the songs that are coming are songs that we as the church can sing together. They're all corporate, very vertically oriented, and it seems really fitting to me that God would give you such things to say while you're feeling displaced. Like straight up Ezekiel stuff. You know, he's in Babylon on the edge of the river Kabar, and heaven opens up, and he gets to see this picture of worship, and so I love how this has been my favorite moment of creative energy. The faucet just turned on, and it just kept going, and so it's really fun to feel like I didn't have much to do with it. You know, I thought I was really clever. Let's make this little outline, but it was just happening. I was like, man, I'm barely here. And those are really great moments when you don't feel very clever about what you're up to.
Yeah, and that was actually a question I was going to ask you. Since you had this arc in mind from the beginning, if you were kind of taking the writing of it piece by piece, or how it was coming together for you. So it's interesting to hear that some of it was coming all together at once.
It was confusing to me, um, because I'm usually really great. I feel like I'm a really good editor, and it's not like I get done with a project and have like 18 songs sitting around that didn't make the album. Usually it's like, no, I know what wanting to do, and if something's not going that way, I'll just cut it off. But these songs that were coming, I'm like, this does not fit, but this is really a great song. We can't stop. Let's go ahead and finish it. And maybe I'm wrong. I kept thinking, maybe I'm wrong in my outline. Maybe I've got it all, but maybe this will fit, and I just can't see it yet. And then all of a sudden, I was like, they're coming at the same time. I'm not, it's fun to not be in control, especially in the creative moment when, as I said, it's like a faucet turns on or the wind starts blowing, and you can't really control that part of it. And so it was really fun. I was like, how dumb am I? I mean, it's right there in front of me. I've already been saying like, and then I want to write Return. It's all corporate. I'm like, this song doesn't fit. So it was really pretty fun. I had a great time.
No, that's awesome. I'm curious. So you mentioned that all of this songs and on this the Exile were all story based. So I'm curious how you think that that's gonna impact how others may able to be able to put their own story behind some of the lyrics and really connect to some of the songs, perhaps differently than some of the other songs you've done.
I have the same curiosity. I don't know because I've never really written an album like this. So I'm really, curious. Like Grave Robber's a good example. Like it's not, it doesn't feel like you get together as a church and sing that song, but it as you said, it's connecting in a different sort of way. So I'm really curious, because of how what was natural to get together and tell each other stories and see how each other were. I really feel like there's got to be some sort of humanity there that is really readily available for connection. So I'm curious as well, since it's very different than what I've done. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I don't want you to pick your favorite track because I'm sure you love all of them. They're on all for their own reason. But I'm
Right.
curious if there's one that you are most kind of expectant for or really interested to see how it hits.
Well, I can say my favorite moment on the album and making the album was this one track towards the end, called "All My Tears," and it's a cover song. It's a Julie Miller song. She wrote it, and she's
Mhm.
like just an Americana legend, just incredible singer songwriter. I'm kind of in the Emmy Lou, Patty Griffin club. It's like they've got little singer songwriter Americana group that just like they're incredible. Well, Buddy Miller is Julie Miller's husband, and he's an incredible guitar player, amazing guitarist, amazing producer, in Emmy Lou's band for years. But there was a cover of him covering Julie, his wife's song, and it's just like on YouTube, and it's not meant for like commercial consumption. It's just somebody's phone or some camera up in the back corner of this little club, and it's just him and an acoustic. And a friend of mine that I was working with on the Exile, Hank Bentley, said, "Hey, have you seen this cover of Julie's All My Tears song that Buddy did?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't, because I haven't watched all of the YouTubes. I've watched most of them, but not all of them. This one slipped my but anyway, I didn't see it." So he showed it, and I was like, "Oh my goodness." And it had been on an Emmy Lou album, and I love the album it's on, but this song never really stuck out and popped. But when Buddy did it with just the acoustic there, I was just floored, and immediately it was like, we got to do this, and we got to find Buddy Miller, and Buddy has to be on this album. And so we tracked him down through Ricky Skaggs, and he was so kind. I'd met him years and years ago when I was living in Waco. We shared a plane flight, him and Julie and I. They were headed back to a funeral actually, and we kind of hit it off then, but hadn't been in touch at all. So we reconnected, and I let him know what was going on, and it was like I begged, and so he was kind enough, and I mean it was stunning to get his stuff on there, him playing guitar and singing. He sings the second verse. His voice is just, oh, it's incredible. So that's my favorite like musical moment. I can't wait for people to hear it because it's really stripped down, and I think we really captured what I was hoping to put to tape, and it's wonderful. So I'm happy that it's there.
Awesome, and it's always, interesting to hear how those different collaborations come about as well,
Yeah.
because 'cause they're all so different from that. And you do have another collaboration on this project too. You have one that you've already, pre-released with TobyMac, with the Dash.
Yes.
So do you wanna talk a little bit about that one too?
Absolutely. I had been on tour with Toby for like 2 years. He let us come
Mhm.
out with him on Hits Deep, and man, him and his whole team are just they're incredible. Wonderful people. Obviously, he's legend. Now, what people might not know is I would not be with my wife without Toby Mac. Here's what happened. We were at a lock-in, her and I, we went to high school together. I didn't really know her. She was like 2 years younger than me. But we're at this lock-in, and I'm a senior, and they had an opportunity for people to make like lip sync videos. You'd pick your favorite song, and then you go do like a lip sync to it, and they'd film it, and then they would play it on the big screen in the gym for all of your peers to see. And there was this one moment when DC Talks Heaven Bound is up on the screen, and this little girl is rapping every word. She's playing the Toby part, and she's got all the words down. And she's doing like the Roger Rabbit and the hammer time. She got all the moves, and I'm like, "Who's that? I gotta find that girl. That's my lady. That's the lady right there." So if not for Toby Mac, so for me, he's been a legend my whole life, and so to be on tour with him was incredible. And then when I was writing this song Dash, it came out of just a sermon of my pastor, and actually he had told me this story over dinner another night, and but it blew his mind when he's sitting in his dad's graveside, and on the tombstone he's like, "That's going to be everybody's going to have the same thing at the end of things. You got the year you're born, you got the year you die, and in between is just this little line." And as soon as it fell out of his mouth, I'm like, that's a song right there. Oh my gosh. And the weight of that just hit me, there's not a lot of music that lets us talk about our mortal state a lot. And I just felt like this was such a clever way to be able to discuss something that's like what do we do with what do we do with this little line? What do we leverage life toward that's bigger than ourselves? I think that when we get toward the intentions of God for who we are and how we're made, it gets better. And I couldn't think after being out with Toby, as we watched him deal with the true stuff and just his family's been through a whole lot of stuff. And I thought, man, if there's anybody that could help carry such a weighty subject and say something that was beneficial and helped us all, he couldn't be better at it. He nailed it. He sent his lyric back first, just in a text. He goes, "What do you think about this, Crowder?" And I mean, I teared up. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is incredible." Now you got to rap it. You got to rap it, bro. And so we got Toby Mac rapping again. It's great. Yeah, he does sing some hooks in there too, but we got him rapping. I couldn't be happier about that. And yeah, my wife's a fan of the song too. She knows all the words. She got the moves.
Oh, that's awesome. And I do wanna before we close, I do wanna make sure I touch point on just the sound of the album because there's so many different types of music and different genres that you have on here, and I just wondered if you wanted to talk a little bit about how you blended that all together in putting this together.
Well, I've always been a tinkerer, you know, I tend or ADD, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. But I tend to, you know, dabble in whatever catches my ear. I'll really, you know, try to take it apart and put it back together and just figure out why I like it is what usually is happening. And so that's what leads to these, you know, adventures musically on my albums. And this is no exception. I really feel like what's happened though over this Crowder season is the last few records. I feel like we're really defining what it is I really like, and I've gotten in a really great groove with a couple of folks up in Nashville, Ben Glover and Jeff Soka, and they've been it's a real team thing now. We just got it, you know, we got kind of, as I said, a groove going, and so there are some elements that are really, you know, it's still got that earthy Appalachian instrumentation that's underneath things, but there's
Mhm.
also we got that urban thing going now as well, and I feel like this has a really good blend of some quiet moments and then some really rowdy moments. As I said, there's a lot of angst in this record as well, and it's fun angst. That's all I can say. That Unstoppable song is hilarious. If you ever told me that I'd have a song that I would release upon the public that had "Winner, Winner, Chicken Dinner" in it, I would have not believed you, and here we are. Um, so, yeah, I couldn't be happier with how everything turned out, and super happy that that, as I said, that there's a place we're going, that we're not staying where we are, but there's a return that's coming. Even on the album cover, I love that people are gonna discover this eventually if they're clever. We're doing like T Swift. We're leaving Easter eggs everywhere. But, on the cover is Exile. It looks like this dilapidated billboard in a really stark environment,
Mhm.
and if you'll look closely, return is written backwards. The back of the billboard is return, going backwards. And so the next album cover will be from the perspective looking back at return,
Mhm.
and it'll be lush and vibrant and flowers blooming. And I can't wait for people to realize that even the last couple of lines on the record are every little thing's going to be all right on the other side of exile. And literally you're staring at on the other side of exile is the return. So there's a bunch of fun, clever things that we're getting to do that when you've already got another record sitting in front of you that um, we can have fun rolling it out. So I'm pumped, love it, can't wait for people to hear it, and there's more to the journey. That's what's fun about it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I know we're getting close to time, so I just wanna, give you the opportunity just to share, just what's in your heart, your prayer for this music, as Exile, and then the return comes and connects with the listeners.
That's awesome. Well, the thing I'm hoping comes across is that all through scripture, it's like the same story gets told over and over. Is we mess up, we're out of you know we're out of communion, as I keep saying, and then he makes a way back. And I think that that's the thing that over and over on this album, I hope that people hear is that it doesn't matter where you are right now, that there's a way back, and he's made that way. And so that's my hope. It's really simple, and that's it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again, Crowd, for taking the time to chat. I've really enjoyed getting to hear,
Absolutely.
part behind
Well,
this.
thank you. Appreciate it as well, and thanks for including us. That makes me happy.